Hi, I'm Ed Highland, and this is ASA TV. Today we're talking about MACRA and also the new quality reporting requirements. I have the honor now of being joined by Dr. Alex Hannenberg, with the AQI executive, Delane Schmidt. Thank you so much for coming by, and Dr. Roger Moore. Appreciate all of you being here. And Dr. Moore, you get the first question, if you would. Discuss some of the enhancements and improvements made to AQI in 2016 and how they benefit ASA members.
Thank you, Ed. The Administrative Council of ASA and the AQI Board of Directors developed a group that started looking into possible remedies to AQI. And what we came up with was hiring a group called PA Consulting. And they took a look at where AQI was as far as 4 different levels and found that AQI was really only at a basic level of being able to do the functionality that we needed to be able to do with the things that we wanted to do. And so they developed a map for us on how to get where we wanted to be. And basically that was approved by the ASA House of Delegates also, and we were able to move on from there. With that, part of it was a change in management, and we were very lucky to be able to bring Delane Schmidt on from the Society of Thoracic Surgery, which had the greatest, really probably the premier medical registries and one of the few ones that were functioning at a very high level. So with Delane coming in, things started really changing in about 2015. What we did is we started doing a search now for a platform for AQI to be able to do what we needed to do. We needed to have a very robust IT platform that would be able to take the data in easily, be able to extract the data that we needed for not only the QCDR requirements, but also for just quality reporting for each of the individual practitioners. And what we found is a company, Arbometrics, that we brought on board in late 2015, and it just went live this July 2016. So just a couple of months ago, we were able to actually bring them on board. Now, what does it provide us? It provides us a huge IT platform to bring in all the data. It provides us the security of that data, which we need, which we did not have in a kind of a robust way. It provides us the ability to extract data to do the QCDR reporting, as well as extract data to do basically the information that we need in order to be able to give each individual anesthesiologist a report card on how they're doing compared to other members of their practice as well as nationally. I'm really happy. We just found out that we just had submitted all the practitioners, which was like 87 groups were reporting to us in 2015. That was all submitted, that data to CMS, and 89% of those practices, their data and practitioners were accepted by CMS as fulfilling the needs that they needed to get the extra payment. Now, that's where we are now. Where we're planning to go in the future is we're now up to 300 practices. 87 last year, we're up to 300 practices now, and by the end of this year, the expectation is we'll have 400 practices. 300 practices means 16,000 providers. So we're looking at an exponential growth in the number of individual anesthesiologists and other providers that are reporting data into our QCDR.
Well, let's get Delane into it. Talk a little bit about what ASA members can do to successfully report through AQI, QCDR, QR, all the other products out there. How do they go about doing that?
Well, thank you, Ed. I'd start by saying don't delay. This is not necessarily an easy project to take on. It's pretty complex, and it takes a while for each practice to operationalize it. So don't delay. Our deadline for signing up for 2016 QCDR is October 31st. So if you're going to sign up for this year, sign up very quickly so you do not miss the deadline. Second, I would say designate a champion in your practice. This person is someone who really needs to learn the ins and outs of what is required, and somebody really needs to own the project. We have a reference on the ASA website. It's the NACOR User's Guide. It goes from A to Z, everything you need to know. I would also say work very closely with your vendors, particularly if you are a practice that needs to pull data from multiple sources. You need to pay attention to what's going on with them. So we'll look at your data before your vendor submits it, make sure they're doing it correctly, check your reports often. If there's a problem, make sure that you correct it right away so that you're not waiting until that very deadline before you submit your data. Look at your reports. That's one of the requirements for the QCDR, is that you're supposed to be looking at your reports frequently so that you can make adjustments in your care and improve care overall. I would also say pay attention to deadlines. There are many deadlines associated with this, and they're not necessarily AQI deadlines, they're CMS deadlines. They're very strict time frames for when you need to get your data in. And I'd also mention that we've got a partnership now, a collaboration with a new vendor called ePreop. Our product is called Quality Concierge, and it's particularly attractive to those practices that don't have internal IT resources. As I mentioned before, this is not necessarily an easy thing to do, and this particular solution can help those practices that don't have that internal IT resources.
So, Dr. Hannenberg, if you would, what role will AQI registries have in helping ASA members navigate MIPS?
Right, so last April of 2015, a major transformative change in Medicare payment was signed into law. And one of those provisions is still based on a fee-for-service model, but it is a model in which there are virtually no automatic increases in the rate of payment for physician services over the coming decade. The adjustments to payments, which can be either positive or negative under the Medicare Incentive Payment System, or MIPS, are based on performance measurement in 4 domains. 3 of those domains build on or adapt existing Medicare payment programs. One you've already heard about, which is the quality reporting system. Another one is an adaptation of the value-based modifier, in which assessments of the cost of care are scored. The third one is measures of the effectiveness of the use of electronic health records. So all of those have been existing, and the MIPS program introduces a 4th dimension of payment that leads to a composite score on which payment adjustments ranging from ±4 to ±9% are made, and that 4th dimension is clinical practice improvement activities. Now, with respect to cost and resource use measurement, there will be no measurement by the provider. That is calculated internally by Medicare on the basis of claims related to services that we provide. Medicare has basically decided to suspend that cost and resource use dimension of the program for the first year. So we're waiting to see how it might or might not apply to anesthesiologists going forward, beginning with measurement in 2018 onward. But as a result, the weight in the composite score driving the payment adjustment is that much higher for quality reporting, which is where the strength and history of AQI and our registries lies. And so in general, for the base performance year of 2017, 60% of the composite score will be based on quality reporting. But for those anesthesiologists who do not have access to either an electronic health record or suitable reportable measures of EHR use, it will wind up being 85% of their payment adjustment score will be based on quality reporting. So you can see how important, even in this transformed Medicare payment system, the role that the ASA QCDR is playing. MACRA specifically expands the authority of qualified clinical data registries under CMS to be the reporting vehicles for those other two dimensions of MIPS. So when we better understand what the rules around doing that are and what our members need, that is potentially going to be an expanded suite of capabilities for the AQI, serving the members' needs to survive and thrive under this new payment system. Remembering, as I said at the beginning, that the age of automatic annual updates or improvements in the Medicare payment rate to keep pace with inflation are essentially gone. Whatever increases in payment are acquired year to year will be increases earned under the MIPS performance domains.
Realizing there are still clouds in the future pertaining to this, maybe you could give us some, and you've touched on some of the points, but maybe you can give us some of the ideas about what ASA is doing to perhaps be ready for that MACRA final ruling.
Well, so I think as soon as the law was signed, knowing that it calls for extensive regulatory activity by CMS, ASA convened a group of subject matter experts in practice improvement, in resource use measurement, in electronic health records, and in quality measure development to come together and to do what we could to influence the rulemaking process within the government so that the circumstances of anesthesia practice were adequately accommodated in the rules that were promulgated to essentially implement MACRA. The office-based practitioner has a vastly different set of circumstances applicable to MACRA than does a facility-based anesthesiologist. And to a modest degree, we're seeing signs in our early analysis of the final rule that those have been accommodated. In between the proposed rule and the final rule, ASA published online a set of 8 tutorials to explain the key features of MACRA and particularly how they relate to anesthesia practice. And we did that knowing that it was a moving target. So I expect that in the coming weeks, as we understand what decisions Medicare made about the proposals we saw last spring, that all of those are going to be replaced or revamped and updated so that we're providing information that is relevant to the rules as they will apply beginning January of 2017. So in reality, the accommodations we were looking for as anesthesiologists have generally been granted to every Medicare provider, and the threshold for reporting in 2017 frankly is extremely low. You have to do very little to at least avoid being subject to payment reductions. Having the opportunity to participate in payment supplements, again, the bar understandably is a bit higher, but they regard at least 2017 and probably 2018 also as what they call a transition year. So it is MACRA light for year one.
And on that note, Dr. Hannenberg, Ms. Schmitz, Dr. Moore, thank you so much for joining us. And this is ASA TV.